We're in the interview portion of today's show. We are joined by, can we call you a friend of the program?
We're getting there.
Yeah, okay, second appearance. I like that. Make me work for it. It's Cubs third baseman, Kris Bryant. Kris, what's going on, man?
Well, not much. Just another day in this crazy world, but I think I'm hanging in there, man.
Yeah, amen. Crazy world like this, it's important to have, good, strong relationships with family. With that, I got to ask, how's my guy Mike?
He's doing great, actually. We've been obviously hitting the cage pretty hard with spring training around the corner. So he's been hanging in there. We're sneaking out to the golf course here and there, me and him. So we've been spending a lot of time together during this whole thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I also saw around the family, like, did you have 2 Christmas trees up? Was that like a you thing or Jess thing? I think I saw that on Instagram. You're a 2 Christmas tree guy.
2 Christmas trees. That was just part of it. There's about 7 Christmas trees in this house.
7? Wait, are you in Vegas, I assume?
Yeah. Okay. I'm in Vegas. Yeah.
Okay.
We love decorate. We love Christmas so much. And the wife loves decorating and making it look all nice. So yeah, there were only 3 in that picture, but there's certainly some more scattered throughout the house.
I love it. Holidays time. Come over next Thanksgiving. I'll make you 2 turkeys. Everybody knows me for being a 2-bird guy. But more seriously, listen, huge news of the offseason, sizing this up. I know a guy like you keeping your ear to the ground during the offseason, and I think I was absolutely devastated to find out that the National League will not have a DH spot next year. How much were you sizing up that DH spot as like an NL player?
Shoot, that's news to me. I didn't even know that's a thing. When did this come out?
I thought that was what White Sox Dave reported last.
That it's not happening.
Okay, yeah, that they're leaning against it or they're not going to do it.
So there will be no DH this year.
Yeah.
Oh well, I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to kind of change what the game has been for so long, But I certainly enjoyed the DH in the National League last year. That's another spot for another hitter to get a job too, which is obviously pretty cool. But sometimes it's just nice to have a half day off as a DH and just kind of get out there and focus on the hitting and not worry about running out to the field. So, but who knows, man? I like this whole offseason, I've really done a good job of just not paying attention to anything in terms of baseball, which has really like freed me up and like just a nice peace of mind for myself heading into my workouts and hitting and all that stuff. So that's been really good for me, but it's kind of funny you guys are telling me this news now.
Yeah. And you know what? We have to do some fact checking. Probably.
Yeah, this may be unconfirmed. So ask Mike when we get off this, but
we got a guy, he gets a lot wrong, and it sounds, did he tell you that?
I'm under the impression, yeah. Now I'm fact checking myself.
It's a lot wrong. All right.
Yeah. Well, regardless, we'll do the fact checking. It sounds right. Okay. Yeah, so now that we're a couple off seasons in, can you give us a little taste here about Bryce? Did he want to come here? What? Give us something now, Kris. Everything's passed.
So what year was that? He came to Chicago. He played us. We went to dinner one night at. We were Steak 48 there in Chicago. And we were just talking. I was like, man, it'd be super cool if you came to Chicago. And he's like, honestly, like it's top of my list. And I thought we really had a chance to get him. I kind of forget the situation and exactly who we signed or whatever, but he really loves Chicago. He loves coming to the city, eating there. I mean, who doesn't like going to Chicago? So, I'm kind of bummed out that we missed out on that opportunity, but he's doing all right in Philly. Philly has some really good cheesesteaks too, so he's probably crushing those.
Amen.
That's true.
Is stuff like that, like the front office with Theo or something now that he's out, would he ever come to you and be like, hey, yo, I want you to get dinner with Bryce after this game?
No.
Yeah.
Well, not me at least.
No.
Maybe I'm not a good persuasive guy, but I've never been asked that.
What about opinions? Like, do they ask you, hey, Kris, Cardinals are coming to town. You've had success against these pitchers. Like, how would you approach stuff? Does it ever make its way to you, or is it mostly like a staff thing?
No, definitely. That's kind of what you live for, as especially like when I was younger in the league and talking to guys who have had history against certain pitchers. Like you gravitate to those people to try to figure out what they've done well against them, or like, hey, this guy kind of owns you. Like, what does he do to get you out? You know what I mean? So it's more of just like in the clubhouse kind of thing, you kind of, ask certain guys who do well, what do you see off of this guy? How do you hit this guy so good? And it's crazy to see the different opinions, because some guys like really feast off of some pitchers that I think are tough to hit off of, and vice versa. So, that's the fun part about hitting too, is you pick each other's brains and kind of figure out what works for certain guys.
Do you have that one guy who you really struggle against, and it's just always in like the back of your brain?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think in order to kind of have those thoughts, you have to have like an extensive history against the guy. But there's definitely a couple out there like Carlos Martinez. He's got some of the best stuff in the league when he's on, throwing 100-mile-an-hour two-seamers that kind of just bore into your back knee. Like, that's kind of hard to hit. So I think he kind of has my number. Jack Flaherty, he's probably one of the most underrated pitchers in the game. I think he's just going to be one of the best. Great stuff. I feel like he has a really good attitude out there, and he obviously plays for the Cardinals too. So they got some good, tough guys that pitch me tough. But I think certain like relievers too around the game, like you get in the box off of them. You haven't seen them in forever, and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot that pitch looked like that out of your hands. Like I remember Will Smith when he was with the Brewers. He had just this slider that he would throw, and it was like impossible not to swing at, because it looked like it was going to be a strike every time, but it ended up almost hitting your back foot. And I'm like, why am I swinging at that? But then I'm like, man, this guy's stuff is so nasty. It's just sometimes you just don't pick it up. And there's certain pitchers out there that is definitely feel that way for myself.
You're talking about picking stuff up. Is it easier to hit at Wrigley with or without fans now that you can compare? Because I imagine there's some loud distractions, and I imagine there's just a different buzz. And is it easier for you to get locked in when it's quiet?
Yeah.
Or do you like that?
No doubt. It's, because I just felt like playing this year. They just kind of felt like scrimmage games. It was just a really odd feel. But obviously you're given what we got. We're thankful to even finish the season. But hopefully we can get to a point where there's able to have fans in the stands, but like just the feeling of like getting ready for a 120 game on a Friday. It's 12:50. You're gonna go out there. It's gonna be hot and humid, and there's gonna be 40,000 plus Cubs fans that, took the day off of work or something just to come out and watch me play baseball. Like, there's just something about that just kind of gets you going. And it's like locks you in, whereas this year was kind of like, a 6:05 game. We're going to have the white noise of the fans out there playing, and then we're going to look at the cardboard cutouts. Like, that's a completely different feeling.
That's a good question, though, because is there a thing where, like, the Cracker Jack guy is louder than the Peanuts guy, or do you hear the hot dog guy? Is there, like, one vendor who you're like, there's that beer? You do? Really?
100%. There's one guy in Wrigley, and he's always on the third baseline. He cranks it, man. He's loud every day. I hear him.
What's his product? What is it?
Yeah. I think it's beer.
Okay. Yeah,
it's beer. But those guys are working hard for their money, and I certainly hear them, and then you just hear like the white noise of the fans. But that gets you locked in too. It's just a complete different feeling. It's really hard to explain.
What about the chirping? Were certain teams meaner? I know the Cubs had like more energy and fun. It was like a high school team. Were there any teams that were kind of like old salty men's leagues teams, like the police department team?
Nothing really stood out to me just because our team was just so ridiculous in that sense. So it was like, you look at any other team that would try to do it the way we did it, and it was kind of just like, it just didn't compare. So it never really registered in my mind, because I would go sit in the dugout and I would hear what we would say. And I'm like, are we allowed to say it? Like, I don't think we're allowed to say those things. Like, I'm going to get away from you so they don't think it's me.
Be honest, did it cross the line? Would you call it Bush League?
Yeah, definitely a little bit. But I think if there's one year where it was kind of accepted, it was this year, just because, what were we going to do to really get ready to get locked in to like just really make the most of the season? And I certainly think that we did with kind of the antics that were going on in our dugout.
Yeah, but dude, like, listen, there's a lot of noise right now, obviously surrounding the Cubs, surrounding you. Like, are you still having fun out there, man? Like, is it still?
That's a great question. A really good question. At times, no. At times, it really really got to me sometimes. Like, just the stuff I was hearing, and I think I talked about this a little bit, like 2018, like the first trade rumors that started to pop up, like that really got to me, and then like I found myself like, man, is this even fun anymore? Like, why did I start playing this game? Because it was fun. Obviously there's a lot of other stuff involved. Like, you make a ton of money and there's fame and all this, but it's like, you got to get yourself back to why I started playing. And like, I just remember my first home run, running around the bases. My dad picks me up after around third. I don't even touch home plate, but like, that's the kind of joy that you got to find. And like, I found myself sitting there like, I don't have that joy right now. So it's like, I'm trying all I can to kind of get back to that place. And like, I look back on this year, like, it was really rough for me personally. And like, just stat wise, obviously there's a lot of other terrible things happening in the world, but for me, like, I still had a good time because it was like, people were so ridiculous, like making the most of a terrible situation. And that's kind of, what life is. And I certainly really enjoyed the struggles of it for of the year for me this year. And I hope to learn from that and get better for it.
Talk a little bit about, reflecting the earlier times. Do you remember your debut?
Yeah. It was terrible.
Yeah. This is something me and Big Cat talk a lot about because we sat down the right field line and we were heckling Matt Kemp the whole game. And then Matt Kemp turned in like the 5th inning and he points at Big Cat and he's like, "Hey, you're really fat." And he started pointing at his belly. And we were all, you'll be surprised to hear this, but we had like 1,000 beers because it was your debut. I was the guy who took the day off work to go up with Big Cat to the game. And the whole time we're just like, Kris Bryant, this and that. I had been blogging about you on Barstool. My first blog ever on Barstool is after we drafted you. I wrote some long-winded scouting report. So it had been like all this time coming. What happened?
What happened? I could give you 1,000 excuses.
Well, the box score says, was it 0 for 4 or 0 for 5?
It was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts off of James Shields. And ever since then, I've never hit James Shields good. So there's a guy that is tough for me. Well, you know what? I think in the minor leagues, you don't really see, at that time, you didn't really see a right-hander throw a right-handed batter a changeup, and James Shields' best pitch is his changeup. So I was just seeing right-on-right changeups the whole game, and I'm like, oh man, like, am I gonna be okay? Is this gonna be? Am I gonna do this my whole career? There's gonna be right-on-right changeups, and slowly I've gotten better at hitting it, but it's still a tough pitch for me to hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a day that you want to remember forever, but also just forget the baseball part.
I saw you. You've been on a couple times on Ian Happ's podcast, The Compound. What's the deal? Like, are you mad at him that you didn't get in on that? Like, why? He wants you as a guest. Like, why can't you be on The Compound, Kris?
You know what? I got a little. I'm a little busier around the house now. So I don't know if the wife would like me to carve out 2 hours of my day to go organize a podcast, but I enjoy being a guest. Let's put it that way.
Better golfer between you and Ian?
Between me and Ian?
Yeah.
Oh man, this kid's. Let me tell you something. Ian Happ is. If he put the work in to be a pro golfer, he could be on the tour. Like, this guy is his swing. Like, it's so pretty. But he loves baseball a lot more, and I'm thankful that he likes baseball a lot more too, because I like being his teammate. But he's an unbelievable golfer. Let me tell you that.
Hey, we throw something around the office. Ed and I do. I want to get your take on this. This is something Ed and I agree on, that the 2015 season, that team was just a little bit cooler than the 2016 team, even though you won a World Series.
Little bit cooler. Yeah, you know what?
Like, what is it? Ed, did I say that right, or what is it?
It was something different. It was almost like a house money year. So there was no like nervousness, and it was just awesome.
That's a great way of putting it. It really was, because nobody expected us to win, even make the playoffs that year, 97 games, and going that deep into the playoffs. It was kind of like, we made it to the NLCS, but it's okay. We finally got this far, and next year obviously worked out great for us. But that team was really fun. I mean, I was thinking the other day, I was like, man, I miss Starlin Castro. I miss. He was just a great guy in the clubhouse, and I feel like he kind of got a little bit of a bad rap for what he was able to do on the field. I mean, this guy, if he keeps playing, he's gonna have 3,000 hits in his career. Like, not many people do that. So I miss that guy a lot.
Kris, I got to tell you, someone in this room, not me, might have said a lot of things about Starlin Castro. I
was, opining about winning, culture, atmosphere, watching every pitch. I was a bit of my hard ass when it comes to watching baseball. So,
That's quite all right. I mean, there's so many things that are said out there that I feel like I can get completely ballistic over, but hey, you say some things that you're wrong. Yeah. It happened. Starlin Castro was an unbelievable teammate, and hard worker. I miss that guy. I would love to see him come back and play for the Cubs.
Ooh.
That'd be interesting.
Love that. Would actually be so cool.
Yeah.
It really would. I mean, I like just. I mean, you remember his walkout song and the energy that brought to the stadium.
Awesome.
Man, like we miss that guy. And I mean, Riz obviously his walkout song and stuff. I think he copied Starlin, but it's just not the same. Starlin was the man. I mean, that was him.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely more open-minded to it now that we have a World Series championship and I've lived through like a lot of growing pains as a fan. Because listen, your career really is an arc to a lot of Cubs fans and how we've grown with the Cubs, because for so long with the Cubs it was just the same thing over and over and over, and it really wasn't until you showed up in 2015 that the entire genesis of being a Cubs fan is kind of flipped on its head. So it's not my I'm not the one who didn't bring John Lester back, so I'm okay talking about this and saying like that team, like knowing that John Lester is not coming back, knowing that Kyle Schwarber's gone, knowing that there's just the team's just different, that phase is coming to an end. When you look at that Cubs team, what is the memory and moment that stands out to you most when you're like the John Lester, Theo Epstein, Kris, Bryant, Anthony Rizzo Cubs?
The memory for me, like, I mean, it's not really on the field. Like it's just a lot of the off the field stuff, like how together we were as a team, like all the team dinners we would go to, and we had Eddie Vedder singing at Lester's house around the campfire to all of it. Like those are the memories that you really remember. Like obviously we did some really great things on the field, but it's like just the feeling of like the brotherhood and like the togetherness that we had. Like you just, it comes around very, very, once in a blue moon, and we had it that year and we took it and ran with it, and we have a ring because of it.
How's the morale in the group chat? Like you just said, like, obviously Kyle and Theo and everything. Like, is it feel like Survivor? Is everything all right? Are you boys, how you taking it?
Survivor. You know what? I mean, there's certain things that are sad. Like all I've ever known is like John Lester taking the mound, lefty. Like he's going to be mad every fifth day, but he's going to compete, and he's going to, he's going to throw cutters inside, and I got to be ready at third base. And, he's going to get mad at me if I don't make a play because he's a competitor and he wants to win. And certain things like, yeah, I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss Schwarbs running out to the left field and dancing for the fans before the game starts. Like those are the type of things like, yeah, like we grow up with that with the team, but sometimes things just go a different way. And, I'm just thankful for the time that we've had together. I mean, those 6 years, long time. And, some of the best of my life. So, I think it's easy to kind of get, sad and like mad or, certain things aren't happening, this and that. But it's like, you look at what we were able to accomplish and it's nothing to hang our head about.
And not to be weird, but like, dude, you have no idea how many times I've been working from home this year and I've put on either the World Series DVD or just some random game from the playoff run. And like, it does just the ability to distract yourself. We said earlier, like, yeah, the shit that's going on in the world is heavy, man. There's heavy fucking stuff going on. The ability to just kind of, baseball will always serve that function with me. The Cubs specifically and what you did for them is just absolutely incredible. I'll never be able to thank you enough, and people in the city will never be able to thank you enough.
Yeah, I mean, that it's super cool to hear that. That means a ton to me because like sometimes you just get so caught up in the moment of like things going super great for you or terrible for you, and it's like, man, like what happened? So it's like super. Like I ran into a guy on the golf course the other day. He had decked out in Chicago gear and he had a Chicago bag and stuff like that. And he sculled one out of the sand trap, almost took my head off. And I'm like, did you do this on purpose to come say hi to me? But it's like, that's the stuff that it's great because he's like, man, I got pictures of you, the World Series, the newspaper, stuff like that. And it's like, man, like that was a really cool time in all of our lives. And it's just important to realize like, how much that has changed people's lives, and like you're going back and watching games of, that don't mean anything anymore, but in reality, they mean everything, and that's super cool to hear.
Dude, for sure, man. That image of you smiling and throwing for the last out, like that's etched in all of our Chicago brains forever, So
yeah,
sweet.
I mean,
man.
I got all my a lot of memorabilia hanging up on the wall right here. I got you know, my Game 7 jersey. I got newspapers. I got, you know, the belt, you know, the WWE belt. And it's like, man, all I have to do is kind of just walk up here, walk through this room and like just look at some of the stuff, or just walk through like, you know, the trophy room and looking at like the World Series trophy or just anything. Like, it's just like, man, like so many cool things that I was able to accomplish and that the team was able to accomplish. And like, this might never happen again. So it's like, it just really puts things in perspective for me. And, you know, especially with what everything is going on in the world right now, it's just like, sometimes it's nice to just walk through the house and see some of the good things.
And you had a kid. You're emotional. You're more emotional after you have a kid. So, it's, you know.
It's so true. So true.
Exactly.
Yeah. It honestly having the connection to it's amazing. Thank you, because it means a lot to you too, obviously, right? You know, it's you're a baseball guy. You're not just a baseball guy, though. We've talked crazy stuff that's going on in the world today, and you are doing something great in the healthcare community. You've partnered up. Can you tell us about Midwest Express Clinic?
Yeah, recently teamed up with them. They're Midwest Express Clinic. They're just, you know, an urgent care clinic, but you know, what really stuck out to me is just how much they care and how much heart they have. And, you know, I come from a family who my brother is a PA, physician assistant. You know, my sister-in-law is a nurse. My brother-in-law is a firefighter. And especially during this time, it's like, man, they're putting their lives on the line, helping people out. And it's like, you know, I would love to team up with, you know, people who really, really care and have the heart to help people in need. And Midwest Express Clinic, just has the biggest heart and care for their patients. And, you know, that's something that it was a win-win for me. I'd love to be a part of that. Yeah.
And it's right before we were jumping on the interview, we were talking to our producer, Tom. He actually had a COVID test scare. He went down there and he's like, you wouldn't even believe the service and like the way they make you feel when you walk in the door. Like, we're going to take care of you. You know, it's awesome. And I know they're working so hard on the coronavirus front lines.
Yeah, I mean, they're really giving back in that sense, and that, you know, they're really focusing on the testing and helping out. And not just that, I mean, they're giving 18,000 meals away, you know, to people who really need it. And a lot of people lost their jobs, not making any money, and just to put some food on the table for families, that really means a lot. And, you know, I'm super proud to be able to team up with people who really care like that.
And locations in Chicago, there's a lot. There's over a dozen, I think.
17.
Wow.
Very easy. It's easy for me to remember 17 around Chicagoland. So, you know, there's a lot of them out there.
Thanks so much for partnering up with those guys. Midwest Express Clinic. You know, two brothers who wanted to do urgent care differently, and safe to say, 8 years later, they're doing it differently. A lot of great services, illness treatment, family care. You know, we talk about family care with the kid, Kris. You're big into family care. Always have been.
Yep. It's all in my family. It's all I've been hearing about lately. So if I probably wasn't playing baseball, I'd love to hop in that field. So
could you imagine walking into the doctor's room and like Kris Bryant's waiting for you, going over the chart, just like all 6'4", 6'5",
6'6",
6'6",
spikes on.
Okay,
6'6"
with spikes. Kris, thanks for jumping on, man. Dude, honestly, I hope you get to retire a Cub. I love talking to you. You're always such a bright smile and great positive influence around the city, man.
No, man, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for speaking highly of me, and hopefully I can see you guys in person soon.
For sure. Thanks, Kris.